Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us for another round of Nutrition by Eric, the Nutrition by Eric podcast and video. I have a special guest today, Karl Ardo. Am I saying it right?
Yes.
Yes, thank you. So Karl is a Qi Gong master who is joining us from Pasadena, right, Southern California?
Orange County,
Orange
Lake
County, I'm
Forest.
sorry.
That's okay.
I
California is
was
a big
close. It's a
state.
big place, yeah. I know.
Yeah.
I was there. I was probably doing some martial arts in Pasadena if I got it mixed up.
Pasadena is a really beautiful place.
It is, yeah.
Yeah. So if
Well,
you want to move me there, that's fine.
okay, well, we'll see. We can create some momentum. We can get something going.
Okay.
And I found Karl as I was looking for Qigong practitioners in this series of natural methods of healing and activities that some people may not know about. So Qigong was the next on my list. So Karl, I'll turn it over to you, please, sir. Tell us more a little bit about yourself and Qigong for those who don't really know what it is, please.
Thank you, Eric. My name is Karl Ardo. Just from a standpoint, I'm 74 years old. I've been doing formal Qigong since 1974. I'd always been involved with energy. Even as a young kid, I could see energy. And fortunately, my mother didn't dismiss it when I told her. She just said, we'll keep it a secret. So that door was always open. And I had progressed from what do I do with this? And I moved into the art world because I thought that was a creative venue for me to express myself. And it had worked out very well. I was very competent at what I was doing and I was having fun, but for some reason there was a restlessness. So when I went to graduate school in New Mexico, one of the other students and I became very close, and he was a highly accomplished martial artist. And he showed me a short form of Qi Gong and standing meditation. And within a month, I just decided I wasn't an artist anymore. I was going to pursue this avenue. It was so amazingly profound. So from there, I wound up in San Francisco and studied with a number of teachers because there's a very large population within Chinatown. So that's how I got to where I got to. And so much has unfolded since then. So would you like me to continue on this conversation, Eric, or do you have other questions?
Yeah, I had an idea. Thank you. Because I know of martial arts, and I since I was told by a neighbor who was an acupuncturist in Florida about qigong, and I always thought of it as a healing art and maybe an alternative in a way to yoga without so much of the stretching. But I think you said it was introduced to you as a martial art. So maybe we have to define, because I think martial arts, we think, fighting, and then energy work you talked about. So maybe you could explain for me and others a little bit the differentiation between martial arts as a fighting method, Qigong, what it is in general, and how maybe they are different, how they overlap. And if you know anything about Shaolin, I'd love to hear about that too, because I know they do it.
Well, those are really great questions, and unfolding that conversation, I think is extremely helpful. I have never been involved in any type of martial art, yang-based interaction. I never participated in any sports growing up. It just all made no sense to me. And from the time I was 5 till I was 13, my father built a home on an acre of land that fronted a street. And that acre of land was in 5 square miles of woods that had never been cut, managed, and it had a 2-acre pond. And that's where I grew up, was in my own little walled-in pond.
Yeah, where again, please remind me, East Coast?
Yeah, this was in Connecticut, North Haven, Connecticut.
Whereabouts?
It's North Haven. It's kind of outside of New Haven, Wallingford, Hartford, in that corridor.
I've been in New Haven, yeah.
Yeah, so that experience really rooted my appreciation for nature, for so many more questions than answers. And so, from a standpoint of when I got involved with this early on, a number of the teachers were really exiled from China and came to the US. They were kind of martial art outlaws of
Hmm.
sorts. So they opened up schools, and their main momentum and where the root of what they taught came from a martial arts root.
Okay.
And the majority of many of the disciplines, because what happens is that the evolution of in China is that you take a young child, you teach them stuff to discipline them. Then as they become more in their teenage years, their body, their energy, they build a strong body, and then they get involved in martial arts. And usually what happens is that becomes the ceiling. There's an ego, male, dominant, I'm winning, you're losing thing.
Yeah.
But if fortunately they transcend past that, then they get more into the Taoist side of what this
Hmm.
is all about, more about the larger universal conversation that we're
Hmm.
all energy, we're all one consciousness. And the yin and yang piece becomes much more integrated than it did in the martial arts side of that piece. So what happens is that most of the early teachers I had were really rooted in martial arts, and I wasn't interested.
Oh.
So I mean that there was nothing about. So fortunately, I found a teacher that was this really gentle soul. I mean, he was a very small, petite teacher, Teacher Lee, and he looked just like a cricket, like Jiminy Cricket. I mean, it's like I was in awe of the way that he just showed up in space and moved. And he was a relatively older man. I mean, I'm 74, and I believe he was further on than I was, but he moved like silk.
Wow.
So he taught me the short form of Tai Chi, and he taught me how to meditate. And
Okay.
we would have conversations, and he spoke relatively good English. And it was never about the martial side. It was always about the idea of balance and integration and opening and clearing. And then had the conversation about how acupuncture fit into this, food
Yeah.
fit into this, the seasonal cycles fit into it. So I was fortunate to have that root of somebody that allowed me to see that, yes, this was a path that I could pursue without having to go through the martial aspect of it.
Yeah.
So I acquired a fair amount of knowledge. And at the same time, a very good friend of mine who had this most infectious laugh that started in his belly that spiraled, that you could not laugh and it would bring you to tears. And he was this 6'4" fellow with green eyes and a beard down to his belly. And he was just magical.
Wow.
He invited me to go to Berkeley to a talk, the 15th chapter on the Bhagavad Gita with the Swami Chimayananda. And, I was open to him. So we went there. And, this little petite, under 5 foot tall, long bearded fellow comes kind of shuffling into the auditorium and sits on the stage. And there's a flower and a platform. And as he starts talking, his appendages begin to get longer and his fingers get longer. And I wasn't sure what was going on, because this was an experience that I've had other experiences, but nothing this mind twisting.
Hmm.
So after the first lecture, I kind of didn't even know how to frame my experience. And I looked at my friend and he just laughed at me.
Wow.
He knew that I had saw it. So I went to these talks, and each time I went, I felt like I wasn't sitting in the right place. So on the third lecture, it was a auditorium. There was maybe 50 people max, and they're all up front. He's on the stadium, and I decided to sit up here where nobody else was. So I was at completely eye level with him. We were on the same frequency, and I'm sitting there, and he starts, and this is happening and stuff, and this voice goes off in my head that says, "Do you trust me?" And it wasn't like by the voice itself, I was freaked out, and I was just kind of felt yes. And in that moment, there was a spiral of fire that came to him that completely enveloped me. I mean, it just, and, but it was incredible love and compassion. Though the visual phenomena could have been terrifying and frightening if I was in my left brain and ego and stuff. And I can't tell you, but I knew that after that, something changed.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that was an experience that just, I had pushed open the door, kind of began to move from the art world to this. Things were showing up, people were showing up, conversations, and this was like a quantum leap into that, pulling the rug out from underneath what I knew reality was.
Neat, neat. Oh, cool, cool. So there's a lot going on. So I always try to think of, I think of people who really, because I lived, you know, in the East Coast, I lived in the Midwest, I lived in the West Coast, and I remember a term a friend said, you know, there's a food forest and then there's a food desert, because he was big into food and making apps to find good places to eat. So I was thinking about like a food desert is just a place that has nothing healthy, just fast food, and um, they don't have a lot of exposure to things that are spiritual, provocative, that are helpful for whatever reason. So I know you talked about a lot about the experience with experiencing swamis and energy and Taoism and how martial arts may be different. Can you maybe back up a little to people that are just completely new to this world? That, you know,
Uh-huh.
roughly, so someone who's brand new, they don't know what energy is unless it's, you know, from the energy company that turns on your lights. You know what I mean? They're like, you know, something
Yeah.
really, really new who just say, what are they talking about? How would you maybe explain a few things like Taoism, Qi Gong, energy, anything real basic, just to kind of start from a ground level to somebody who's never heard of this stuff?
Perfect. So historically, Qigong goes back about 5,000 years. The motivation was that through a series of self-exploration, monks going in caves and meditating, just trying to understand what this was about as being, and yet there was an elevated exploration that took place. They charted the whole meridian system in the body,
And define that,
acupuncture.
please. So someone may not know what a meridian.
A meridian is the pathway that an acupuncturer uses. So you have 12 major meridians. There are other meridians that go deep that you can't access with a needle, but qigong and other things you can. But
Cool.
just under the surface, you have this highway of 12 meridians. 6 of them are female, which is yin. 6 of them are male, which is yang. So in the framework of balance, that there is always yin and yang. So in the female organs that are yin, they have a yang aspect to them, but they're dominant yin. And the yang organs have a yin to them, but they're dominant yang. So that's what makes the difference. And the difference between a yin and a yang organ is that a yin organ holds energy. And I'll explain energy later. So your liver, your spleen, your lungs, your kidneys, those are yin organs.
Again, wait, liver, spleen, kidney, what was it?
So you have the 5 elements.
Five, yeah, yeah,
Five
right.
elements. Okay. Let me, you have six female meridians, 6 male meridians.
Gotcha.
One of those meridians, one female meridian and one male meridian, does not associate with an organ.
Oh,
It's an energy center. It's a pericardium or the triple heater. So so if you're looking at 6, there's another finger.
yeah.
And you eliminate one, like you just put it down here, it's there. So you have 5 male and 5 female organs. So the definition for a male organ is something that moves through large intestine, stomach, small intestine. Basically, something you can look through. And being a male, we come by that honestly.
Like through the colon here or whatever. Yeah.
The female organs, okay, in the five element theory, it's a seasonal shift. So in the seasons that we go through, each season, there's a dominant organ that needs to be kind of cultivated, honored. You eat food for it, you resonate with it in the cycle of life. And it shows up even if you're not conscious of any of this. It's just the way your energy manages these cycles. So as long as you move in a balanced way and respect, you become quite kind of healthy and balanced. So what happens is that your liver is spring, your heart is summer, your spleen is late summer, your lungs are fall, and your kidneys are winter.
Oh,
So those are the five, and they work in that sequence. So what happens is that the energy rises, as you see, from liver, spring here, up here to summer, heart. Then spleen is a really interesting organ because it's touches all the organs, and it's not like we could have a whole talk just on spleen. So what happens is that if you look at the energy within your body, it's rising. It's coming from liver to heart to spleen, and then it comes back into lungs, which is that transitional place of fall, and then it goes down into kidneys.
is
So
that why you would do some of these motions? Because I know Qigong is, a motion based
yeah,
thing. You're following that what you just
that
described.
sequence, yeah. I talk
Oh,
with my hands. I
yeah, that's
both
cool. Italian
move.
or
Yeah.
whatever art. It's the art in
Well,
Italian.
fortunately, Qigong gave me a reason to do that before. I just talk with my hands.
Italian or Qigong or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a Hungarian, but I guess we talk
Okay.
that way too.
It's close. It's in
So
there.
in that cycle of those organs,
Yes.
so you have male, female, and then getting back to the meridian system, you have
Yeah.
these pathways that run through your body which connect to those organs. So the yin organs are the female organs that need to be protected.
Oh.
They're the ones that hold energy. They're the ones that need to be honored. Those are the things. Those organs run on the inner side of the body. So they run on the inside of your arms.
Okay.
They run on the inside of here. They run on the inside of your legs, those meridians, those pathways, that energy.
Okay.
The yang organs run on the outside, the back of the
Oh,
arms, the back, the outside of the legs.
gotcha.
So the yang organ, you can fight and take a beating. And the
Oh.
reason why martial artists do this, because they're protecting the yin organs. They're protecting. So if you get into the more high advanced martial artists, it's less about striking somebody, and it's more about hitting those meridian points.
Mm-hmm.
You can affect an organ just by contact. Okay, so within the meridian system that an acupuncturist would use, there's approximately 360 points. And the points have an effect because you can either stimulate an organ, you can remove energy from an organ.
Okay.
You can take energy from one organ and lead it to another organ.
Oh, cool.
So there's a whole very sophisticated network of what can be done by an acupuncturist. Now, there are many schools of acupuncture. I'm a big believer in the 5-element school of acupuncture. So if you decide to look for a practitioner, if you can find a 5-element practitioner, because they deal with all of you, mind, body, spirit. They're continually taking your pulses,
yeah,
to see what's going on, and they'll change needles. More traditional acupuncturists, TCM and stuff, traditional Chinese medicine, will just take your pulses or look at your tongue, make a decision, and put needles in you and then walk away.
Mm-hmm.
So you really get a finer level of adjustment if you're dealing with a 5-element acupuncturist.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay, so what happens is that in the Chinese system of health, you have acupuncture, which is done to you.
Which is okay, done to you. Yes.
Which is done to you. Somebody does it to you.
Yes.
You have herbs, certain kind of, I don't want to say medicine, but elixirs, teas that's given to you. And then the third component is you doing Qi Gong to support what's being done to you. So the goal is that it's not like in Western medicine, you go to the doctor and say, fix me.
Yeah.
And then you do nothing but just wait for the pill to fix you.
Very passive, yeah.
Yeah, in the realm of the evolution of this modality, it's about this is not about them fixing you. It's about them supporting you while you're doing what you're doing.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So what happens in the process of doing Qigong is that we have energy. We say it every day. Oh, I got a lot of energy. I don't feel energy. Wow, feel that person's energy. When somebody picks up the phone and you talk to somebody, all of a sudden you get this warm, fuzzy feeling. They've energetically, in quantum physics, have made a connection to you that you're feeling their connection. If somebody's negative, you feel their energy. Boy, that guy's a bummer, heavy and stuff. So it's like it's all there, except we don't pay attention to it.
Yeah.
It's kind of like two people walking down the street and one person smells a rose. And the person that smells the rose says to the person that doesn't, do you smell that rose? And that person pauses, readjusts, and then all of a sudden they smell it.
Yeah.
But if they weren't pointed to it, they wouldn't smell it. So the framework of what goes on in Qigong is that children have this. It's a natural, the way they move, the things they do, the level of keeping busy. I mean, what happens is that we as adults believe that we need to make the child's transition easier by managing them through life with rules and disciplines and activities that are structured versus giving them space to just explore what's going on. And the other side of that is kind of staying open. I mean, if you look at all of these books, Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, Avatar, space, that's all based, if you sift through it, is that it's all based in this Qigong energy reality. We just frame it as a cartoon or entertainment.
Yeah.
But if you pull the veil away, so much of that conversation is relevant. Just like in the kids' movie Kung Fu Panda and throwing chi balls and stuff. That there's truth to that. And when children see that, it resonates with them. So getting back to now, we have adults that need to wake up. They need to pull the veil off. So what happens is that something as simple as if somebody just closes their eyes and watch themselves breathe. So they watch their lung expand, relax, contract. So you're not managing it. And as you become more relaxed, it will become slower and deeper. So that simple technique is a very powerful one in meditation. So what you have is the yang side of your breath is the inhale. That's the side of action.
Oh, wow.
The yin side of your breath is the exhale. Your whole body operates in the principles of yin and yang, up and down, your heartbeat, blood moving in, things going in, things moving out. It's all yin yang based. So what happens is that in the process of watching yourself breathe, both the yin aspect and the yang aspect kind of deal in this physical reality we live in. They're the dualities of life, getting up, going to bed, going to. So it's that sense of finding balance within yin and yang, which makes you healthy.
Yeah, can I pause you there? Because that's important. Because what I keep picturing in my mind is the people that's, they only go to doctors and sense of balance, and that the people aren't helpless. A lot of people don't realize any of this. Some, I'm thinking they know zero, a little bit, a lot, and maybe they were wrong, and now you're correcting them. So if I could just, what I'm thinking is the people that know zero, and they kind of get it, but maybe they were dismissed, like you're saying, that's silly, or that's nonsense, energy's nothing. How do you kind of, speak to them and explain what Qi Gong if it's a and uh and I apologize. I just upgraded Zoom and it's telling me it's telling me I got time limit. So
Yeah, I love technology.
yeah, don't you? Yeah, I just did this thing. That's
Well,
funny. Okay. I think
to
it
take what you're saying, I was kind of going to lead this to that place. So let me see if I can get to where you want me or would like me to take this. So what happens in the realms of breathing is that inhale is yang, exhale is yin. It's going on whether you're conscious of it or not. The space between your breath, the pause, that's the expanded state of consciousness. Now that sounds strange, but it is. It's this place of where, if you notice that when you take a deep breath and you're kind of exasperated and you go, ah, you empty and there's that pause, you're regrouping. So people that are very competent in meditation, their inhale and exhale becomes less, and the space between their breath becomes larger. So that
wait. The space between the breath, because I know when you breathe in, you can pause. You breathe out, you pause. Are you talking
you're
about
you're,
that?
you're holding, you're controlling it. When you take a if you watch a baby breathe or an animal, there's this harmonics. That is, there's an inhale, there's this quiet space, there's an exhale. As soon as you add stress to that, it's like this.
Right.
So what happens is that I want to kind of get to where I'm going, but to answer that question, our culture is all left brain based. It's
Yeah.
really rooted in control, management, ideas, logic, and that's not where it belongs. It should be like a filing cabinet. You access it when you need it, but you don't live there. You leave it to go to this other place.
I see. Yeah.
And the way our culture is with the amount of stress and activity and performance stuff is that you just live in that left brain all the time, and that becomes your reality. In the realm of
Well, that makes a
reality,
lot of sense. Yeah. Yes. Being a thinker and being yeah, a lot of us you're right. And then there's no societal norm to say, hey, snap out of it. But some people are the opposite too. They just live in the right brain, maybe.
well, there are many, many schools of teaching Qigong. It's out there. You just Google it. You'll find it in your hometown, meditation and stuff, but you got to go look for it. It's kind of like this quiet force because it has an effect on the medical system. I'm 74. I don't take a drug for anything.
All right, my man.
I have sicknesses. The majority of the time I can handle it myself in a very short period of time because I got grandkids. They're walking petri dishes.
Yeah, they give your immune system a workout.
Yeah. So, but kind of getting back to what you're saying is that this is what I would offer to your viewers. This may sound crazy strange, but all I'd like you to do is to kind of sit in a chair, close your eyes, and watch yourself breathe. And realize that the inhale breath is energy coming in, and the exhale breath is letting go. So what you want to do is define your breath, not controlling it, but just realize that I'm bringing energy in, and as you exhale, let your body relax as if you're emptying out. But don't change anything, just create an intention. It's so much about cause and effect is intention based. The idea of a law of attraction is that if you go into it with duh, you get duh back. But if you go into it with, well, I'd really like to do this and that, and all of a sudden those things start because you've created an intention that it's odd how the universe works. So again, so if you just sit and watch yourself breathe, quiet place, no disturbance, preferably no music, just yourself. And when you feel that you have kind of gotten to a place that you're present, what I want you to do is to take your hands. Now I'm going to show you here, but I'm going to show you where I want you to do it. And I want you to have them so that they're about this far apart, which is about 6 to 8 inches between the fingers, that the palms are facing one another, and your wrists are soft and round. So it's not a right angle, so there's no tension. And what you want to do is have your hands here like this, facing, so your palms are kind of facing your belly, and just sit. Within a matter of a minute or so, you're going to feel tingling between your hands. It's going to show up.
That's cool. Yeah.
This is energy. This is qi. This is the stuff that you work with in Qi Gong. It's as subtle and as profound as the universe.
Mm-hmm.
It's as profound as the air all around you that you can't see and you don't pay any attention to. And it's everything that I'm talking about, is that energy. Mm-hmm. So what happens is that simply doing that, and that alone, you will build energy. Mm. This posture is a generator. Mm. This is a closed circuit. So what happens is that you have energy that is coming into the top of your head, whether you believe it or not, it is. And it's going out your feet into the earth. You are an energy conduit. Quantum physics, science, all that stuff, but this is basic. And this is what the Qi Gong, way back 5,000 years ago, understood. Mm-hmm. They understood too that they could go and be in an area where there was an abundance of qi. It's like in Sedona, where they talk about these energy vortexes.
I've heard of that, yeah.
The earth is the same thing. The earth has energy connections that move through. This is a living organism we're on. We look at it as a big rock, and it is so integrated in its level of sophistication relative to the dynamics. I was reading a book, I'll make it quick, and I believe it was in Ireland, at some point around the 1800s and stuff, they eliminated the last black wolf, so the wolf packs. And so what happened is that in that stuff, they severed an integral part in the chain, in the ecosystem. And that effect has caused the forests to begin to die off. Mm. And there's an incredible book connecting that event in the food chain of what they provided relative to bacteria and stuff, animal. It's extremely interesting. I don't mean to go off on a tangent, but so what happens is that you begin to connect into this source. Yeah. You kind of have the idea that spiritual people that go to church, people within the church system have access to God, if that's your belief system, and they have an energy and a glow and stuff. The more you do Qigong, people will say, what did you do? Dye your hair? Did you get a facelift?
Something's
you
different.
You look younger. Yeah. Did you go plastic surgery and stuff?
Yeah.
I mean, what happens is that your energy is the part that, as you build it, changes the way your body operates. Yeah. I have, so let's pause. So again, it's this posture. Yeah. Your hands rounded, sit, just watch yourself. Very, very simple. And then once you feel that energy, you can't unfeel it. In other words, once you let the genie out of the bottle, it's out. Mm. Yeah. So the question is okay, so now what? Well, the thing you need to do is to get a sense of, wait a day, go do the stuff you do, see how you feel in your brain and your physical body, then sit down, breathe, do this maybe for 15 minutes, come out of it, and then tell me how you feel. You're going to feel magical. You're going to feel like you've taken something. And what you've done is you've just cleared your body of the unnecessary clutter, and you've organized your energy. When you get stuck in your head and managing stuff, you're manipulating the way the energy should naturally fold. It's like holding your breath.
Yeah. Carl, I'm sorry to interrupt it. I've got less than a minute. This one's going to stop. If you don't mind, I'm going to stop it up, and then I'll restart it. Then I'll get another 40 minutes, and then we'll go for about,
Cool.
I'll piece them together.
I'm having fun.
Cool thing. Because it'll cut us off. So I'll just stop it, and then I'll restart it. Then I can piece it together.
Okay.
I'll do a little more. Okay. Thank you.
See
Right
you
back. Right back. And we're back. Thank you for coming back. We'll use that as an intermission. We'll pretend it was on purpose. Back with Karl Ardo, Qigong master, and you're also an acupuncturist physician or licensed acupuncturist?
No, I'm a zero balancer, and all I can talk
zero
about
balancer,
that.
Right.
This is no criticism. I don't look at myself as a master. I look at myself as a guide.
Okay.
Words have a way of formulating a, something in your brain. So the word master kind of puts people beneath me, versus the idea of a guide is that we're all in this together, but I'm just leading it. So I find that as I do this, words create intention. Words have power, and we use them for the most part with not paying attention to exactly what's behind the words we're using. Like, for instance, the idea of I'm working towards something
Mm-hmm.
versus I'm moving towards something.
Okay.
So let's say, for instance, I'm going to improve the way I am, so I'm working on my health. Well, that kind of dismisses where you're at as your health is now.
Right.
When you get to this place where you're working towards, then you have
Yeah.
arrived.
Yeah.
Versus I'm moving towards, it includes who I am now versus where. Now, so those things, I mean, I don't mean to get into minutia, but they create a perception of who you are or where you're at. So,
Yeah.
so in the framework of just doing that simple technique, if you remove all of the movement, activity, Tai Chi, and all that stuff, and you just get it to that, that unto itself is extremely powerful.
Now, explain why, because I think, I get that because I'm into this. But imagine someone's playing football, nothing's wrong with football, but someone grew up on a farm or someone who just, goes to medical school. How do you and they're kind of dismiss, or maybe they don't dismiss, but they're not aware. Some people, this is a different vocabulary, like you're saying, the words. This is another concept.
What
And
happens in is that we so much rely on other people to guide us. So other people's truth becomes our truth. We don't ask, a lot of us don't ask questions. Or when we do, we ask the question to the antithesis, to the extreme that creates a reaction. And the truth is really in here, and it's not over here where this
yeah,
is that and that's this kind of a thing. So what happens is that anybody that is open, and I don't mean this as a judgment, but is open-minded and just pauses long enough to look at the world they live in and then ask the question, is this really what it's all about?
mm,
Buying stuff, getting a job, working, having to work to pay the bills that you buy stuff that you don't need. And then you're caught in this thing that you're so preoccupied with this that there's no room for anything else. And so but this, what I teach it to executives. I've taught in corporations.
cool.
I've worked at Johns Hopkins Hospital in oncology with cancer patients as well as the nurses and stuff, teaching them Qi Gong.
Wow.
So this is kind of a segue into the healing side when you asked me about acupuncture.
Yeah.
What happens is that the more you do this, you can actually turn yourself into an instrument, meaning that your energy is, and I don't want to say high with a sense of ego, but you can affect somebody else's energy. You can change something going on in someone else. And I have that ability. So in a sense is that just by raising my hand in front of somebody, I can feel all what's going on in their body.
Mm.
I can feel every organ. I can feel areas where there's no energy, tumors. I mean, it's what happens. You become sensitive to what's going on, but it's the other individual that has to give you permission to let you in. It's not something that, oh, I'm out there scanning people.
Yeah.
It is what it is. But so I mean, I work with a whole array of individuals, ranging from people that just are trying to figure this out and they need a little help clearing what's going on to give them a little in the motion, to people that are really looking at the exit of life. And,
Wow.
you know, the piece is I can make that transition a whole lot less painful. I mean,
Wow.
I'm not inducing them to leave. I'm just clearing what's going on inside that's creating the pain. What happens is that from the outside in, Western medicine and stuff works in structure. From this side, you work from the energy, from the inside out. So what happens is behind the structure is energy. On a cellular level, there's energy. You need the energy for the structure to exist. So if you change the energy, you can change the structure. But if you change the structure, it doesn't mean you're going to change the energy. So there are a myriad of people that see me after having surgical stuff done, hip replacement, something like that, and they just say, I've had this done for a bunch of years and I'm better, but it's still not right. And I can do in one session is just clear the congestion, the trauma of the energy that's confused, that all I got to do is diminish this so it gets a little quieter and all of a sudden it's connected. That's all good.
Yeah.
And once it's connected, it's connected. Unless they do something else, it's not unconnected.
Yeah.
So in this realm of Qigong, if you think in those terms, in your everyday terms, you know, I feel good, I feel clear, I feel light, I feel happy. Okay, why? And then you find that, you know, and food is so important because the more processed cooked food you eat, there's no energy. So the more you go to a natural raw or diet, things that are lighter, there's more energy.
Yeah.
You get energy from fuel. So if all you're eating is steak and potatoes and stuff, that just, there's no energy. It just drops into your body. So the only energy you're getting is the cellular breakdown of the minerals, nutrition and stuff. But if you're eating things that are really alive, before it gets to your belly, it's releasing that energy in you. So you're getting energy. You can get energy. I mean, I don't want to get hokey, but everything gives off energy. And you can receive it. It's like when you go outside in a full moon and you feel this kind of soft, warm, comfortable, well, that's all that yin energy coming from a full moon, because the moon is yin and sun is yang. So it's like on a cloudy day when you feel, well, just this and that, and all of a sudden the clouds go away, the sun comes up, you feel good. So in the framework of changing somebody in a health ring is just basically in its simplest form is just dealing with their energy. So there's a protocol that I'm certified in called zero balancing. When I first heard it, I thought it was an accounting firm. And it's a part where it's unlike a massage, but the person lays on a table, they're clothed, so you're not moving oil around and stuff. It's nothing more than it's a protocol that you address the whole body no matter what's going on. And you basically work the skeleton. So you work the ribs, shoulders, legs, and you're putting in these fulcrums, but these fulcrums aren't like a massage where you're pushing, you're clearing energy. And so you work in the structure to do that. And it's profound. It's really remarkable how passive, how simple it is, and how transformative it is. So, you know, I mean, there are people that are still here today that shouldn't be here. I mean, meaning that stage 4 cancer or this sort of thing. And
Yeah.
you're doing what I do and then having them do Qigong. It's that things have changed. There are other people that, you know, that were leaving and they have left. So it's not like I save people in the sense of that I touch you like a religious experience.
I've healed you, yeah.
Yeah, right. But in the sense is that if you can get the clutter, sometimes the clutter is emotional. I mean, there's anger that people carry through life that they had as a kid.
Yeah, it's a great point because so few people realize that it really affects them, number one. Maybe they don't even realize how long they've had it. And then, you know I can really talk from experience. I don't really know how to get rid of it. And then I think these are the kinds of things, I always think, because I studied engineering and then I got into energy kind of stuff, and I think of like as a tool, because I know there's tapping that supposedly can help clear things.
All that works.
Maybe what you're saying is does that, and then even more so. But yeah, I think that's what you know, um, this can come back around. So I want to hear you finish explaining 0 point, please, and then I want to go back to qigong as far as a routine. Like, what can someone do if they don't really know what it is? Like, so if you could kind of bring those two
Yeah,
to the
I'll kind
forefront.
of close. So what happens is that all of this stuff wouldn't exist unless we as humans needed support. Does that make sense?
Need
I
what?
mean,
Need what? All these activities, these like
acupuncture,
yeah,
herbs. I mean,
yeah, they're like gifts. Yeah, they're
you
methods
wouldn't,
that help.
if you were happy and healthy and pure, then you wouldn't need this stuff. So the human race, we need support.
Yeah,
And in the Asian protocol is that it's right up there with eating food. I mean, it's just what they do. They do it proactively. We're a culture that deals with things reactively,
mm,
meaning we wait for it to break and then we go get it fixed.
mhm.
Versus by doing qigong, eating food and stuff, is that you're proactive, that you're doing these things that then you won't break, you won't get
Preventative.
sick because you're investing in where you're going. And so in the area of qigong, pretty much if you Google qigong, it's spelled two ways. It's spelled Qigong or Chigong. And if you Googled it and just say qigong near me,
Yeah.
which is the search, you'd be pleasantly surprised to find that there are probably lots of classes that you didn't know about because you're here and it's there.
Hmm.
And until you look, you won't find it. There is a
Yeah.
lot that's out there. It's like that rose thing again. If somebody smells it and somebody doesn't, and they point it to you, oh, there it is. So I'm the guy pointing the qigong to you.
Yeah, the qigong rose. Now, so
and
yeah,
and there's qigong. I don't mean to cut you off, but there's qigong that you can do seated. So if somebody is in a wheelchair or somebody, there's even qigong that, as strange as this is, that people that are bedridden can watch a qigong master on a healing master do movements, and it will affect them. It will, because of what they're doing. As I talked earlier about, we're all webbed connected,
yeah,
and this kind of energy thing. Whether you believe it or not, we are.
yeah. I
And
do.
there's no way to not be connected. Even as a hermit, somebody that's totally withdrawn, they're connected.
Yeah, I
So
always thought it was interesting as I grew up. I thought of all the people that were around me that thought they were too cool or that I connected with. We're all breathing the same air. It's one thing we all share. It's not like everybody gets their own bubble of air. Someone's exhale, someone's inhale. So at least our oxygen is mixed, and that kind of made me kind of my little aha moment many years ago. So yeah, I know. Yeah, there's the concept, and then as you mentioned, quantum physics. Quantum physics proves this stuff. You can take what is it, an atom you can split, which is no easy feat. But if you can split the atom and put them on one side of the Earth and the other, and you get one to spin one way, the other one will spin the same direction, and vice versa. So there is this entanglement, quantum entanglement.
if I can take that point,
Yeah,
NIH did a research, must have been in the late 70s
National
or
Institute of
80s.
Health, right?
Yes. Well, what they did is they took a Qigong master in China,
Uh-huh.
someone that's really highly accomplished, even though I don't
Uh-huh.
like using the word master.
Okay.
And what they did is they gave them coordinates, idea of images and stuff, of some place here in the US. So this person's in China, they're in US. And in this place, they have all of this sophisticated equipment. And it's basically water. And what they did is they had the master at a specific time send his energy. And the moment he sent his energy, the pH level changed in the water, like
Wow.
significantly.
Wow.
So,
So
you
cool.
know, the idea is, if most of people have seen the movie Avatar, and the web of communication amongst the trees, that communicational spiritual web network. And there's an enormous amount of research going on currently with mushrooms and how they communicate globally. There's a
Wow.
communication thing going on.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I mean, it's truly, this stuff is just, it just keeps reinforcing
Yeah.
this. So what happens is that this illusion that we create as reality removes us from this. And the reality is living in cities, driving cars, buying this, going to that restaurant, living in your kind of, the more you're disconnected, the more you're not part of that reality, though you are part of that reality. You cannot be human and not be part of that reality. You're affected by the sun, by the air, by the moon, by these things. So what happens is that you'll find these extremely successful individuals. And I'm not talking about the ones that you hear that the news is, oh, there are people behind the scenes that are extremely successful philanthropically and stuff. And you find out that they meditate, they do Qi Gong, they do acupuncture, they do all of this stuff.
Yeah.
And they're business people because
Yeah.
they understand the balance between the you know what it is that we do. So
Right.
if somebody's interested in doing Qigong,
Yeah.
what happens is you mostly hear Tai Chi. Tai Chi is kind of like the word because it came here as it came with back when the Asian movement came to introduce this stuff. And then we saw what was it, the Kung Fu program on TV and the
David Carradine from the
yeah,
70s. Yeah.
exactly. So we got Shaolin and martial arts
Kwai
and
Che King, or whatever his name was. Yeah.
meditating and stuff. So
Right.
that we have this idea, and the majority of not so much now, but back then is that martial artists, Tai Chi is a martial arts form. So Qigong goes back 5,000 years. Tai Chi goes about 2,000 years.
Oh,
What the
okay.
martial artists saw, these masters, is that these Taoist monks had an enormous amount of power and athleticism and stuff.
Now, what do
So
they do? Now, I don't know much about Taoism other than I'm interested in it. And I know they have really cool hats, like a chef hat. And the Taoism is different from Buddhism and maybe from Confucianism. So maybe we could take a quick pause and segue to Taoism for a second.
well,
What does a Taoist do? Because there's no Taoist temples. They're not very common, I think, right?
well,
Is it
they are,
religion?
but they're
Is
in
it a
remote
philosophy?
places.
Is it both?
Let me finish this thought,
Okay,
which
we'll
will
come
be
back.
short, and then I'll continue. So what happens is that you've got Qigong 5,000 years, you've got Tai Chi 2,000 years. These guys that were doing martial arts, beating one another up, saw how powerful these guys were. So what they did is they took the principles of Qigong and created a martial arts form. So what happens is that this movement in Tai Chi is I'm dislocating somebody's shoulder. And then this movement is that I'm pushing into their sternum and pushing them away.
Okay.
Stuff, which looks really beautiful, but in your mind, it's a martial arts.
Yeah,
Versus when you do Qigong, this is a big bird stretching its wings.
I see.
So I'm thinking about a bird. I'm not thinking about hurting anybody.
Yeah.
So, so you know, again, that word what I said earlier on about intention
Yeah.
is changes everything. So when you look at the side of Qigong, acupuncture, and that, it's rooted in a philosophy called Taoism.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And Taoism kind of goes back kind of before the written word. And what Tao means is everything and nothing. It's transcendent. It's non-definable. Is that the belief is that before the Big Bang, there was this incredible source. And the Tao belief system is that your energy comes from that source.
Mm-hmm.
So within that principles, it's like they understand astrology, they understand the rotation of the earth. Way back when, I mean, we're talking thousands of years. And in those principles, they they honored it because how it, as they opened up to it, heart center, they got something back. So it was, it was a profound sense of being in the Taoist. Now, pure Taoism is not a religion.
Yeah.
But like so many things, as more humans get involved, the more humans want to define it, the more humans want to own it, there is a kind of a religious tone to some of it. So in other
So
words, there's a
categorize. They're
spirit.
trying to categorize it. Is it
Exactly. It's like,
philosophy? Is it this? Is it this? What is it?
well, it's like Buddhism.
Yeah.
Buddha sat under a tree till he got enlightened. So a bunch of people wanted to replicate it, so they created Buddhism.
Yeah.
So it's, instead of just realizing, well, I'm going to sit under a tree and do it myself. So what you have is Taoists believe that you want to have a healthy body, a clear mind and spirit, and you want to live as long as you can to evolve to your whatever that level
Greatest
of
potential,
evolvement.
whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. They're not kind of believers in the realms of reincarnation in the sense of how the Tibetans and other religions, it's just energy.
I
That is
see.
just energy. And so you have this thing of that the energy cultivation makes you lighter, clearer, healthier, happy. Therefore, you do more. And as you do more, you become more aware of more things. So it's kind of like the, if you throw a stone in a pond and imagine that stone is you, and then the ripples that leave out from that throwing that stone in a still pond is an expanded state of consciousness. So the further the ripples and the more you can stay in your center, you become a greater expression of understanding these more ethereal things. So you're this and that at the same time. That's kind of the analogy to it. So when you get into the Confucian side of belief, well, let's go Tai Chi, Qi Gong, this side, acupuncture, and then we'll do this side, yoga.
Yeah.
Working the body. So what happens is that on one level, these are extremely healthful. They make you healthy. You do yoga, you get a nice body, you become
Touch your
strong.
toes. You're flexible. Yeah. You could do the splits.
Yeah. So, I mean, in the realms of a physical, healthy body, you make choices of foods, smoothies, this sort of thing. Okay. So if you take this system and you take it to its to the infinite degrees of where this comes from, and you think about the Taoist monks on this end, and you think about the swamis and these guys on this end, they're two very different mindsets because the Taoist wants to cultivate energy and live as long as they can. On the other side, what they want to do is they look at the body as a gross vessel that they want to leave. So they're into Kundalini energy that shoots out of the spine. They leave the body and all that. And there are two different ways of dealing with the journey. And the spiritual journey of Taoism is much more rewarding because you're physically here to start off with. You were birthed. Just think about how profoundly remarkable, it's beyond words that you're here in the first place. The odds of you being here are just mind blowing. And that you are here and what you can possibly do is just incredible. And then you get a car, you buy clothes, you go to work, you eat McDonald's, you do this stuff. It's like, that's not mind blowing. The piece is pausing long enough to be in awe that you can breathe, in awe that you can experience all of this magic around you. A jellyfish, a bird, a song, the sun, the stars, the rain, all of that, it should just kind of profile. When people say that, oh, I'm bored, my mind goes flippy floppy. I just don't get that.
I know. But let's talk. Thank you. This is a lot. This is a lot because a lot. It's both philosophy, I think, and it's information. But for a lot of people that want to say, okay, now you pique my interest. I want to know more, and they maybe want to go sit like that. Can you tell us a little about like what is like because I've heard of Qi Lei by I think it's Qi Lei or Lel. I think it's Lei, where I think you just do this and you say, release, absorb, release. I just it's probably one of the many. So so I know there's very what are some things like what is the physical stuff? What is like I'm thinking of a practice where you're standing and you're doing 10 of these and then 10 of these, and then some of these, or you knock your back as we see the Chinese ladies. Like what's an activity? Where would somebody, if they don't find a teacher, what would be a form or
It
something?
depends upon relative to, well, okay. I have a website, which
Yeah,
is www with a dot, movinginstillness.com.
I'll put it in the notes. People can have it.
And I have an email, which is Karl with a K at movinginstillness.com. So that if there's interest and you're not having any luck or you want stuff,
Okay.
I have a class every Wednesday. I'm in California, so it's 3:30 to 4:30. It's a qigong class, and I use Zoom.
Oh, okay. Cool.
And then once a month, I teach an advanced class to a small group of people on a Tuesday. So it's the second Tuesday, but it's a particular. This form is called Tai Chi ruler, and
What's the
this
third word? Ruler?
ruler, this 10 and a half inch long object made out of wood is looks like a sword handle. So this is where a sword would stick out, kind of like here's a sword.
Cool.
This kind
Yeah.
of looks like that. Okay. Oh, you got to love how. So this round piece fits in your palm. This round piece fits in your palm. Okay. So when I said earlier that this is an integrated form and this is a generator, this takes both of those and brings them together. So this particular wood has got straight grained. There's a point, acupuncture point in your palm called La Gong,
Okay.
which is really the part you heal. So this point and this point are here, these finger. So it's a combination of this and this using this. So there are movements that generate an enormous amount of energy.
Hmm.
But it's something that you have to kind of have your body clear enough to handle it to benefit you.
Okay.
This form, I also teach it without the ruler. So just the connection of your energy, which in itself, and so I'm just kind of, but getting back, let me show you.
Sure.
Am I clear? Am I
Uh,
blurry?
it's a little blurry. I think it's, you know what it is? It's focusing on that frontmost beautiful calligraphy. And I think the camera wants to focus on that calligraphy. So about there, if you can,
Yeah, so if I just put the light on, it
yeah,
usually, that should be better.
yeah, that's good.
And then I have my halo, see the energy coming in from
Yeah,
that.
yeah, your portal to the ether world.
So what happens is that to do Qigong, it's not like moving your arms.
It's not
It
jumping
looks
jacks?
like it. It's not, it's not, because if you do this, it's just like, okay, I'm moving my, the intent is that you imagine you have a string on the end of your wrist. So your wrist is moving your arms.
Yeah,
So your left brain says that's illogical. We can't do that. So it goes away, which is what you wanted.
yeah,
So what you do is in with every action in Qigong, this is an inhale. And as you descend, this is an exhale.
yeah.
So this is action. It takes effort. So this is the yang and this is the yin.
Oh, I see. And yeah, yeah,
Okay. So that's not true with martial artists because sometimes it's reverse. You exhale and throw the punch. So, but in Qigong, so what happens is that the postures is that thing with your hands. This is called cradling of the watermelon. So imagine I got a watermelon here. My
yeah.
fingers are apart. I can feel the energy. So that the first move is called big rock, which is a bird stretches its wings. So lifting from my wrist, this is an inhale, a pause, transition. This is an exhale. Connect, pause, transition. This is important down here. So this is the first movement. It's called big rock, stretches its wings. And the energy I'm feeling is quite profound. The second move, is called water lily rising from the pond. So the trunk of my body is like a flower. And as I raise, the energy becomes more profound coming in my crown. Also, what's happening is that as I sink, I'm compressing the energy in my body. And as I lift, I release it and open it so it gets stimulation. The next move is called goldfish wiggles tail. So it looks like this, but it's done in a non-symmetrical way. From the side, it looks like this. So this is like a giant cart. And imagine the earth is the fish and you're moving it through space. It's goldfish wiggles tail. But in all of these, I return back to that cradling of the watermelon. This generates the energy that now I'm bringing into my body when I'm here. So there are thousands of forms of Qigong.
Yeah.
And there are Qigong, like I know, for very specific organs. If somebody is for the kidney, liver, spleen, that you do this because you have a health issue and you prescribe it the same way a doctor would prescribe a prescription. I'm a big believer. For me, it's like in my journey, I had amassed a large volume of forms. I studied with a lot of teachers. And as I evolved, I realized that more wasn't better. Going deeper was better. So this form that I teach, I've been teaching it since 1998.
Wow.
And it is just as rewarding today as it was back then.
Wow.
Relative to how deep it's taken me. It continues to serve me in a very good. My hobby is I build motorcycles and hot rods. So I'm in the garage crawling all around.
Wow, that's cool.
I mean, I'm saying my stuff is in magazines and I got collectors, and it's not so much building them, though I build them that they run, but most of these people just stick them in their collection. And I'm very conscious of my environmental carbon footprint. So my wife's car is an electric SUV, the house is solar, this and that.
Oh, neat.
So, so that this thing that I do, it's a little on the other, it's the yin and the yang side.
Yeah,
but,
right.
But the thing is that I have a body that I can use.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying, but when you get into the yoga side of things, it's a little different. That type of work would be difficult because of the nature of the elasticity and the balance. And I'm just kind of pointing it out. So from a standpoint of doing, because at the end of the day, I could become this guy that's a hermit, be completely removed and doing qigong and dancing with the universe and all that other stuff. But then I'm missing out on being human, interacting with Eric, interacting with you, having friends. I've met some remarkably very spiritual people in the motorcycle, in the car world. You know, I mean, it's not this there, just like I have met executives in very high-end businesses that are very spiritually evolved. So it's like that, it's not, you can't put people in a stereotype bucket per se.
Yeah.
But in the sense is that I have something that completely serves me on many levels and allows me to do what I do. And as I said, I'm 74 and I'm healthy. Other than coming through a cold virus that I got from my grandkids, those little incubators. And that's the other thing too. I'm a grandparent. I got 2 grandkids. I got a son that's a really high-end scientist.
Wow.
And stuff, and so, from the standpoint of, I just find for me is that my eyes have always been open. I kind of see things and I connect the dots instead of just looking at this and not realizing this occurred because of this. Mm-hmm. This allowed that to occur. So as that ripple, I talked about dropping the stone and expanding. So you get to see these things. And the things that we call coincidence, it's all out there. And you begin to really it warms your heart when you realize that there really is a thread to all of this if you see it and you
Yeah.
move within it. And the way to do that is not be so preoccupied in your left brain. This all this stuff's going on, but you don't see it. Just like that beautiful scent of a rose, you don't see it because
Right.
you're
Right.
probably thinking about paying your bills or something.
Yeah.
So, and it
So,
doesn't mean that you have to become a qigong guy or gal or person. What happens is that my most successful students get up in the morning, kind of do their getting ready,
yeah.
cleaning and stuff, and they spend 15 minutes doing qigong and then go on with the rest of whatever it is to get going. So that prepares them for the day. It's like
Yeah.
kind of starting the day off on a good foot. And then at the end of the day, when they come back from whatever business life thing they do, and sometimes they kind of settle up, and I encourage them to do it before they eat, is to do Qigong again as
Yeah.
a way of clearing what you picked up in the course of all the junk during the day. So you
Yeah.
do it.
Carl, sorry, I'm sorry, I'm going to jump in here because I got the countdown again. We've got just a little under 2 minutes.
Okay,
So
so that's where I can leave it right there, that's what you want to do if you're looking at this. 15 minutes morning, 15 minutes evening, short form, you live happily ever after.
yeah, I think that was the question I had. Yeah, like so people I think if they know what to do, how long to do it, when to do it, how to find it, there's an association. That's how I found you. It was the Qigong Association of America or something like that. I don't even
Yeah, it's
remember.
called NQA, National Qigong Association. If they Google that
Yeah.
and go look, there are teachers out there all over, and
Okay.
classes and workshops
Okay,
and
cool.
video
Yeah.
talks. Mhm.
Yeah, well, awesome. Carl, this has been awesome. Very, very enlightening on a lot of levels. So thank you. In wrapping up here, I know you've given your website, so please give it again for I'll put it in the notes, but just someone can say it again.
It's www.movinginstillness.com.
Okay, perfect.
And my
Great.
email is Karl with a K at movinginstillness.com.
Awesome. Okay. Well, good, Carl. Well, thank you. Thank you so much for indulging me in this discussion and uh, uh, help people now know how to find you. We've got just under a minute here. Any last words on this thoughts? How someone could get started, and someone maybe who's just started maybe could get to the next level. Maybe if you could just
Well, what people want to do is any questions, feel free to contact me.
okay.
And give me a way of contacting you. Uh, the piece of this is that I'm so honored so that I can share this because it's transformed my life. I was not a very healthy child till I found Qigong, upper respiratory digestion.
Hmm.
I was dyslexic. I'm no longer dyslexic. So
Oh,
many things synced up from doing Qigong, and I can point directly to this practice as that component. So I would just ask people to Google it.
okay.
QIGONGCHIN
Perfect. I think we got about 10 seconds. Yeah,
CHIGONG,
perfect.
and see what pops up. You'll be pleasantly surprised.
Awesome.
There's a lot of wackadoo stuff out there, so
Yeah,
be discerning.
be discerning. Perfect. Carl, again, thank you so much, sir.
You're welcome.
And thank you. Anyone who wants to, know how to get a hold of Carl, and hopefully we'll hear from all of you that have learned as well. So thank you all for listening.